What's up, everyone? FC here of E-MTB Review, and it's the end of summer. The trails are blown out here in Santa Cruz, and the temperature is 100. So, not riding right now. Saturday, said might as well give my fellow riders some news. So, the first one is an acquisition of Rotor components. They make these power meters and very high-end cranksets from Spain, and they are acquired by a Chinese company called byWheeltop. Don't know byWheeltop? You're not alone because I had to research it. So Rotor is like the highest of the high end. I can't even afford their stuff. $500 cranks, oval chain rings, very high quality aluminum stuff, power meters, and they were just acquired by byWheeltop. Who is byWheeltop? byWheeltop is a mainland China company. They said they acquired a majority stake of their shares, so they're going to be the decision maker now. They run the shop, and they are specializing in OEM, just cheap components. But they've been drivetrains, but they've been working on their electronic stuff, and tell you where this is going. They said, we are committed to building an intelligent future factory that can produce up to 50 million sets of bicycle and electronic bike transmissions. 50 million. What in the world? Anyway, so that's kind of the way of the world. I'm sure Rotor had some financial difficulties in this day and age. It's a tough time for OEM and drivetrain, especially on the high end. You guys are not buying stuff. So Rotor having difficulty, and they need a cash infusion to stay healthy, to stay in business. Not exactly sure how much in dire straits they were, but it's a sign of the times. Everyone's short on money, laying off people, not hiring, and now this thing was bought by a Chinese company. Probably had a lot of money. So we'll see what happens, but they could compete with SRAM, compete with Shimano. Apparently, byWheeltop has some new electronic shifting systems that are like half price, but super good. All right, new stuff is there were a bunch of bikes introduced, right? So the first one is the Santa Cruz Vala. It is Santa Cruz's e-bike in the trail e-bike, replacing the Heckler 150, 160 millimeters of travel, and they're calling it the Vala. They're changing everything. They're willing to change everything just so they can get into the top 5 of this category, very competitive category. So they changed the name, they changed the motor. They went from Shimano to Bosch. That's not an easy change because you have a lot invested in that, and there's usually favorable pricing because you have your drivetrain. That's Shimano. And lastly, most important, they changed their suspension. They went from BPP to 4-bar or horse link. So it is a huge departure. Bike looks cool, and I think it's a change that needed to be done because their BPP systems were not competitive. They weren't top 5. They weren't top 10. So they want to make the best bike possible. Why is BPP not great? It's because there's too much congestion where the motor, the shock is lower link now, and they all sit there, and the dropper post wants to get in there as well. So good and bad. Good, I think they're pursuing the best bike they can. The bad is now they're going to be hard to distinguish from any other bike out there. Most people are using 4-bar suspension. The other big critique was they chose a battery that was 600 watt hours. Most companies, they go 600 or 800 on the new Bosch, or 600 and 750. Because the 800 is a little thicker than the 600. So to maintain that thickness, they go 750, 600, 750. Santa Cruz, in their wisdom, said, "No, you guys get 600 because we want, the best ride possible." And I can vouch for that. Because that's how I would order my own personal bike, 600, and get an extender that's 250. Okay, so that way you can configure your battery just like you configure your water for a particular ride. Unfortunately, a lot of you guys, you don't buy into that. You see the 600 and automatically there's no way you're gonna buy it. And I said, what about the extender? And he goes, no, I don't want to bother with that. That's gonna weigh even more than internal battery. I lose my water bottle all that jazz. Yeah, it's a little harder to charge. You have to charge them one at a time. So not very well accepted. I can relate to that. I would say get past your test ride the bike, see how much range you get out of the 600, because you get a lot on a Bosch system, pretty close to a 700 Levo. And also, just know that you have an extender. But that being said, if I was them, would have offered an option. You gotta listen to the customer. You know better, but you gotta listen to the customer, what they want. And most people are really afraid. They have range anxiety, especially if they're heavier riders or whatnot. The other thing is the price. The price, bottom price is $7,300 with really not good components on carbon fiber, and they still keep selling the carbon CC, which really to me has no effect on an e-bike whatsoever, because you save a few grams, couple hundred grams maybe. Next bike is Crestline. Crestline, they updated their bikes, and they came up a lot in the discussion because they're using VPP, and people are saying, hey, if they could figure it out, how come you guys can figure it out? So I don't really know. A lot of people think highly of Crestline. They updated their two bikes, but my main thing is they didn't update the price. They're 10 grand and 2,000. Super expensive from a company that's really just kind of building up. So I don't really believe in $10,000 e-bikes. As many as I have in the garage, you can't tell the difference between a 10,000 and like a 6,000. Carbon and aluminum. Go for lower price e-bikes, aluminum, some GX components, and the best brakes and suspension you can get. That's the words I live by. So if you know Crestline, let me know about what do you love about it. I know the dropper post can't be that long because it's there's not that much room over there. But what about BPP makes it really good? Because I don't know how plush it can be, given that it's got pedaling enhancements. All right, next bike that got introduced is the Orbea Wild. This is more an update. What they're doing is tweaks here and there. New motor. I think a lot of people are excited about the Gen 5 Bosch motor because now they have two batteries compatible with the extender, and it's quiet now. It's quieter on the uphill and no more rattle on the downhill. So Orbea's excited. 77.5 head angle, seat angle, and then 63.5 head angle. So aggressive. And what's cool about Orbea is it goes down to $59.99 is their cheapest bike, and decently spec. And they have two options of battery, a 600 and a 750, and then the extender of 250. So more options for you, battery averse range anxiety folks out there. And something really cool is they have. So this is a 160, 170 travel bike. They have a version that's an ST, a short travel, which is 150, 150, which is actually pretty cool for most parts of the country. They don't need that rad a bike, so a little more conservative geometry. So short travel, a little easier spec, and the price is $53.99 to get in the ground floor. So Orbea Wild. Okay, the other bike I'll talk about is the Mondraker Sly. I have one. I should have it behind me, but it's out there right now. I just put it together. This one is a mid-powered bike with a Bosch SX motor, 20.5 kilos or 45 pounds, and the 5600 for the lower price one and 6600 for the more expensive one. So pretty nice prices. Aluminum. See what I'm saying about aluminum? You can't tell between an aluminum bike and a carbon fiber, double carbon fiber bike, and makes it cheaper. And the weight is 45 pounds for the more expensive one. So pretty cool. And I should have a full review on that. I have like all the mid-power bikes in my vault back there, and I have a lot of footage already. Okay, And then two more pieces of news. One is the DJI motor revealed some more details about their motor, and I'll show you some video. And the bottom line is it's legit. You know how they got that much power out of it, how it's so quiet, um, the way they do the gear reduction. You know, just check it out right here. So we've seen the numbers, and they're pretty ridiculous. And how it's made is they start with the magnets. They're so dense, and this is how they produce so much power. And then they have gear reduction that is quiet and precise. So how they do it is with two stages of gear reduction, and they have a planetary gear. Planetary gear is so genius because it just distributes the load. They use three plastic gears that are quiet. They're helical, meaning angled. The cuts on the gears are angled, so that gives it an even more quiet feel. And plastic makes it more quiet as well. So instead of using a belt, which is known to fail, they're using this method, and this reduces increases the torque by 16 times through gear reduction. Torque, by the way, is measured at the pedal spindle. So as you do gear reduction, you increase the torque. So they have a final gear ratio right there with the one-way bearing. So 40-to-1 is what you get out of it. So just one of the systems in the whole DJI architecture. And finally, the last piece of news is the Hurricane Helene is definitely affecting the bike industry because it hit Asheville, North Carolina, very hard, and a lot of them are still reeling. 1 week later, 200 people lost their lives, 200 plus. There's still a lot of missing. So this is a huge disaster, and a lot of bike shops in the area, because this is a bike mecca. Asheville area, DuPont National Forest area. So their biking trails are hammered, I'm sure, but there's loss of life, there's loss of industry. Bike shops flooded. They don't have basic electricity and internet. So the companies involved or affected are Fox Factory. They've moved a lot of their operations to Asheville. Cane Creek, Industry 9, Boyd Cycling, Man Group, Defeat, and I'm sure there's others. And they're putting together a lot of fundraisers to help their employees, the victims of this calamity. So there you go, my friends. Just a little bit of news on this weekend where NorCal riding is not so awesome. Thanks a ton.